We are live. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are live in a few different places today. Today, we're going to be talking about Google Ads. Google Ads is a mystery to most guys who get started in the contractor world. It is one of those things that provides a lot of questions, right? A lot of, I don't know, a look behind the veil, if you will. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz to most contractors, and rightfully so. Google doesn't make it super easy to run Google Ads. And I have my own theory on that, and I'll briefly share it with you. Google Ads is challenging because Google would like to kind of create an economy of consultants who can help you. And I always thought learning it would be a good avenue for me. Luckily, I signed up with Footbridge. They did my website, and they also ran all of my Google Ads for me at a very good deal, frankly. And I think they make it a little challenging for the contractors just because they want to create that economy of consultants. And it can be very detailed as far as your targeting goes, your keywords go, landing pages, optimizing, quality score, all of those different things that go into it. I got my boy Chris Lonergan from Footbridge Media today. We're going to be talking about Google Ads, budgets, how much you should run, when to know you're getting a good ROI on it. But before we do that, if you're looking to get a website in 2024, head over to footbridgemedia.com, call them and mention the lean and mean deal, and you will save $600 a year on your website build. These guys are the best in the contractor game. They've been open since 2004, and all they build is contractor websites. So make sure you mention lean and mean so you can save a big chunk of change at the end of the year. Chris Lonergan, what's up, my dude?
How we doing, Aaron?
Man, I'm good, dude. Today is Google Ads Day, and I'm going to put a little banner down here for the guys just in question. Google Ads, dude. We did an event this past weekend, Serious Starter event down in Southeast Softwash HQ, and a lot of questions came up about Google Ads. And one of the things I like to do is just refer it to you guys simply because it was such a great experience. Like, y'all really filled me in on what's happening, what's going on, how much we should run, budget, stuff like that. Because you know as well as I do that if you're brand new to web and you're brand new to running Google Ads, it can be like shooting in the dark, frankly, as far as like how much money should I put down. And if you don't put down enough, right, Google will just take your money. They'll just gladly take your money. So let's start this off, Chris. How do you know like what the best budget is? How do you guys determine that over there?
So when we're talking about Google Ads, we're really talking about supply and demand. Google ad pricing really depends on what your specific market looks like, what your area looks like, what your competition looks like. So if you're in an area that has a lot of folks working in your industry, a lot of folks putting out ads, if you're in a big metro area, that's going to drive up the cost of your budgets. Your cost per click is going to be much more expensive compared to being way out in the boonies where there's not as much competition. So how you know your budget really depends modularly on the services that you offer and the exact places you're going to target. So, on the Footbridge side of things, one of the things we do with our customers is we prepare a prospectus. We take a look and we talk to our customers and say, let us know what you would want to target. What are the services that are the money-making ones for you, for these areas, and what are the top markets you want to work in? And we'll pull up a prospectus and we'll do the math for that. We'll say, based on this budget, at this much of a conversion rate, we're going to say your cost per click is this much. And that cost, again, really modular. It really depends on your area. And then after that, the second question is, does that make sense for you? Does that cost per click, if we can say $2,000 will get you 22 leads that will convert and actually talk to you, what can you do with that? Does that make sense financially for you? So that's how you create your budget individually in every situation for every single company in every location. There is no blanket statement for what should your budget be as a pressure washer. It's what should your budget be for you right now where you are today.
Got it. So I love that you're determining, based on region, right? Based on supply, demand, who is running ads in the region, how much are they willing to put down on ads? And this is what I tell a lot of guys when they're running Google ads with you guys. Be willing to put down more than you're comfortable. Here's why. Because being on the first page of Google That is the prime real estate. And with Google ads, you are so very targeted with who you are looking for on that search term. It's almost even better than SEO in a way, right? You're paying to play. Google's going to give you that first spot. It's like the fast pass at Disney World, and you scan that, you skip the whole line. You're looking at everybody else waiting in line. That's what Google ads is. So be willing to put down more than you're comfortable. A lot of guys who get into our world, Chris, they've never ran a business. So asking them, to put down thousands of dollars a month, potentially, right, as a bid is kind of, it's a big ask. They've never spent that kind of money. Their truck payment don't even cost that much. And so how do you get guys used to that budget? How do you get them into that mindset of spending on their marketing and the potential of an ROI on the back end?
That's the thing there. It's all about the ROI. It's what is going to make sense for you. We're not saying let's put out this $2,000, $3,000, and we'll see what happens. We're saying this is the math that we suggest is going to happen. Now, is it worth it for you to not have to go and walk the street, to not go and do home events, to not reach out and knock on doors? If it costs you $22 for every person you could successfully speak to and say, hey, I know you're interested. Would you like to use me as your vendor? That's really where that math comes in. So don't think of it as I'm going to throw my savings account at this, and maybe don't do that. There are definitely shades, and there are times where maybe ads aren't right for you based on an area or based on a market. But there's that math that's involved to say, let's, instead of looking at the big picture of a big sack of money that you're handing over to Google, think of it as, would I be willing to spend this much money to talk to a customer? Is that worth it for me? And are my sales chops good enough for me to be able to convert that person and get them to join up? And then what's my return on that? If it costs me $22 to talk to somebody and I'm going to make a couple $100 on that, clearly that's going to be worth it to me. But can we do that at scale? Can I do that? Can I have those conversations while still doing the work? So that return is really the big question. Your ROI there, which really only you can determine as a contractor, as a pressure washer. You're the one who knows this is how I operate. If you don't have great sales chops, I would say focus on building that up first before you run PPC ads. Because if we get you 20 leads through Google Ads, and you're not a good salesperson, you convert 10% of that. Well, that's different. But if you've got a better sales record, you've got a good background, in convincing folks to use you, that's where you're going to see that even better ROI, that better return on your
No, it's
investment.
your fault I didn't close them.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
Sure, I didn't answer the phone and it went to my voicemail, but that's the other thing is, and also we will tell you when that happens. We've had some folks who, well, I didn't get any calls. Well, actually, we heard the call, we heard your voicemail pickup, and then they called somebody else after that, probably because they didn't talk to you.
Because you guys track all the conversions. You track every single call that comes in. It comes in, it's recorded, right? To
Yeah,
to prove the ROI, right?
right.
That's key.
There's call tracking, and that's part of what we do is we also have bi-monthly reports as well. So we send out to folks. So you're not guessing at what is my return on investment here. We're going to tell you this is your cost per click. This is what you've paid so far for this particular period, for this particular campaign. Now, what did you do with that? Because truth be told, like all of Footbridge Media's components, every bit of marketing that we do, we don't have contracts. Our job is not to force you to stay into a program that doesn't work.
Right.
We believe that you should only do marketing things that work. And Google Ads can be amazing for some contractors. And you know what? Google Ads can be absolutely terrible for others. But you don't know it until you try it. There is going to be that grace period where Google kind of figures out who you are algorithmically. It's like a 2 to 4 week kind of period. But if you do Google Ads for 2 or 3 months, and you hate it and it's not working for you, it's not a good return for you, then you should stop. Footbridge Media allows you to do that. There are other companies that charge percentages or require contracts. Our job is to find stuff that works for you, and Google Ads is one of those options, not the only option, but one of those options that can be really successful in the right environment and at the right moment.
So question, say, is a guy who comes in the game and he's been in business before. He's got a big other business, right? He says, "Hey, dude, I want to initiate my Google Ads with you guys. I got 10,000 a month to spend on Google Ads." What is the potential of that guy getting a real return? I know the answer because I know the more you're willing to spend, Google does take priority. It's very interesting. Like it's almost like Uh, if you're going to if you're willing to spend the most, Google almost gives you another like bump. It's not even like scalable. They're like, "Oh, this guy's legit. He's our guy. Let's put him at the top." And you make even more than you would have if you were just like on the budget and like efficient with the money. And it's a good play. If you're like, no, 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 Google, I'm calling your bluff. Send me
All
some
in,
leads. All
push in the
in.
chips.
I've seen Google, if you're willing to do that, like they will just dump calls. That's what I've seen, with Google Shopping and other things that I've optimized on my end of ecom. They're just like, okay, he's the guy. So let's send him all the leads. You see your stuff showing up on the whole page. Tell me a little bit about that. Like if money's not an object, does Google give preference to those people who bid the most?
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's a bidding system. It's who's willing to spend for that top position. And for what we offer on our side of things, when people are interested in figuring out their budget, we usually offer like a good, better, best kind of scenario of this is, we understand if money's tight, this is a budget we can recommend. We have a minimum. It's usually like $775 is a minimum spend for Google Ads per month. But we'll give you a good, better, best. And yeah, at the end of the day, this is a bid based system. So if you are the highest bidder, you're going to get up there. And now we've had instances where we try to spend your budget. And if your Google ads are too narrowly focused, we actually won't even max out your budget. You could tell us spend $6,000. We're going to get you every possible click, and you won't even spend $6,000.
Wow.
That means at that point, we need to expand service offerings or expand and add on different locations so we can maximize your dollar.
Wow.
So there's definitely, money is definitely the key player when it comes to this. There are other, we're talking about quality score and all those things. There are different things where you can have an efficient campaign that gets you more and you can spend a little bit less. But at the end of the day, that dollar is a really significant part of how this process works.
So I would say if you're thinking of doing this, make yourself some money. Look, I always say the 15% rule, like 15% of gross revenues needs to go back into marketing. That's how I love to operate. Gross revenues. I'm talking about the net marketing part of that gross that gives you the net at the end of the day. Okay. And if you're willing to spend $1,500 to make 10,000, you can run a business off of that all day long if you're willing to put the chips down and say, I'm willing to do this to get that. All right, potentially. If you can close and if you're following up with people, there's a lot of different variables that we know guys tend to not want to do. We just call close and follow up. You got to be following through. The customer needs to tell you yes or no at the end of the interaction. Otherwise, the interaction does not count. It doesn't even go on the scale if they haven't told you yes or no. Okay. Key. Chris, what's our next one? How do you know that you're getting a good return on your Google ads?
And that's the pure math there. When you're doing Google ads, you should understand. And for us, again, we offer reports where you can figure out what's your cost per click, your cost per acquisition. Ultimately, the cost per acquisition is going to be what does it cost me, the number of dollars that I put in that ultimately turn into a lead that I convert on my end. What does that cost me? And it may not be cheap depending on the area. If you're talking about doing this in Atlanta versus doing this, in the middle of nowhereville in a small town somewhere, small rural city, your cost per acquisition is going to be higher for those bigger areas, but also generally your operating is costs are a little bit higher there. Your tickets are going to be a little bit higher there because just like how Google Ads is bid based and based on who's all around you, so are your services. Your skill set will dictate your ticket cost for that particular area. So you got to do that math. Is the cost per acquisition, does that make sense and give you enough profit when you compare that to your operating costs?
Also bigger tickets, right? Like you said, there's more concrete in Atlanta, more parking garages in Atlanta, more apartment complexes in Atlanta. See what I learned with Google ads and running them with footbridge is that eventually, you start off, guys, if you're on a budget, you start off like kind of scared. And then you start hitting like apartment complexes calling you, and you're like, why did I ever care about spending $1,800? It's a $30,000 job.
Yep.
Go on, add that on top of it, right? And you start understanding your cost per lead at the end of the year can be relatively small because if you're running these in the right areas, you'll start getting one out of every or two out of every 10 calls is a very sizable commercial job. And you're like, oh, okay. It's not just like $400 residential houses that we're talking about here, because a lot of times property managers, how they think is they're wanting to go to the easiest way to get the bid. Okay. You have to think of who's calling you. It's probably the facilities manager's assistant. Okay. Or the lady at the front. And they literally run by her on a Monday morning and say, hey, get me 3 bids. I got to have 3 bids for pressure washing for the pool deck area. Spring's coming, summer's coming. We need to get it cleaned up. What does she do? She does not go researching. She literally Googles pressure washing. Okay. The guy at the top is getting a call. It's up for debate about who else gets a call, but that first guy is getting a call. We know the Google stats. We know the click stats on what the number 1 position on Google adds up to. You can Google it yourself. That person's getting a call. So at least you get a shot to bid on the complex, by God. Then it's up to you what you do as far as closing it and making a good presentation, right? But the point is, guys, is to get a shot, get a chance. And that's what Google Ads is buying you. Chris, excellent info. Should you keep running your ads in the winter time? I know what I tell guys, but I'm interested to hear what you tell them here with this.
I think it depends on where you're at. Obviously, if you're in the, if you're up in Michigan and you can't have running water for more than 15 seconds, then yeah, maybe you should take the foot off the gas a little bit. But there are a lot of marketplaces where, anything maybe south of the Rust Belt where you can still get some good work in year round. Is it going to be more sparse? Absolutely. Will you have less competition running ads, so your ads are going to cost less? Absolutely. That's kind of the win there, is see what your market looks like. You may not be getting a dozen jobs from it. You may be getting less jobs, fewer jobs here and there. But again, is that math going to work out for you? Because it's a lower cost, because there's less competition, your cost per acquisition is going to go down. You're probably going to get more commercially type things, because come November and December, people aren't thinking, oh, let me get some pressure washing done. They're thinking, I got to save up for the holidays. Right. Or in January, February, they're going, I'm broke from the holidays. But commercial properties operate all year round. If anything, you might get more commercial business because, hey, our busy season's coming up here in November, December. We're going to have a lot of foot traffic. We need to make sure that this place looks good. So there are opportunities absolutely to be had in the winter in certain parts of the country here, where I think running Google Ads all year round makes sense.
I agree. And here's why. Just like you said, commercial business loves to call during that time of year, at least for me, because a lot of their patios and stuff, people aren't sitting on them, right? The pool deck, people aren't, laying out on the pool deck. It's wide open. It's chilly outside, right? The pool's kind of, it's shut down for the winter. Also, they got to spend this money. They're trying to get write-offs for the end of the year. So when I was running Google Ads with you guys, I got most of my commercial calls October, November, right? And it would crush, dude. You're cleaning Dave and Buster's over here. They're, hey, clean this Gaylord Opryland calls for some thing they want cleaned. A lot of these other commercial places that will have certain parts of the facility basically closed down to foot traffic because no one's going to be out there. Whereas normally they'd have like a little festival and little tents or something all throughout the year traffic. So I'm with Chris. I recommend keep your Google Ads running. And what you'll probably find is you'll get not only more commercial jobs, but you probably will even spend a lot less. Like you might not even be able to max out your budget during that time of year because the demand is lower. But the jobs that I got during that time tend to be much bigger ticket jobs. So Chris, thank you, man. Hey, I got a few questions. Let's see who we got here. Chris Riley, what's up, my brother? Glad you're here. Bayside Clean. What are we smoking today? We're smoking a Jaime Garcia here. Jaime Garcia. Go on, get you one. Go down there and get you one. You would think it was Jamie. That's because you're a rookie. So you don't go in there saying Jamie. Okay, don't go say I need a Jamie Garcia because lean and mean smokes it. Tell them if you say Jaime Garcia, they'll say, this dude knows what he's talking about right here. Let's see. Oh, let's see. GA Pro Wash. What's up, buddy? Good evening. I've had a website for years with nice job. Good. You take that website over. I don't know. I can't read your writing, buddy. A lot of leads come from yard signs. Yes, those are good. And referrals. Those are good too. Awesome. Awesome, dude. Yeah, very good. Good to see you. Juan Wizard says, nice hat. Where's that black and mild at? We got them what is it? White owls. That's what we're smoking today. White owls. Chris, thanks for coming in and filling these guys in on Google Ads and kind of the budgeting, the mindset behind Google Ads, I think is what evades a lot of people in our world, especially. It's just like, how do you think about the marketing you run? Guys come into it with a lot of it's really just fear, right? Fear of losing their money. And I think you guys do a great job of quantifying what's happening and why the budget is what it is and why it is what it needs to be and giving them a good, better, best choice, right? If you buy the good, you can't expect the best. It's weird like that. You buy the bronze package, you can't expect the gold package, right? So giving them an option to choose from, I always say run as much as you can. 15% of your total gross should go to your marketing department. If you make $100,000, which is easy to make in our world, gross, 15,000 of that should easily go to your marketing. That's what I would say. The issue with that is a Footbridge website is so cheap at $199 a month with the lean and mean deal. It only takes up about $2,400 a year, right, of that budget. So if you're making $100,000 and you got a website with Footbridge, you're only spending $2,400. Look, man, you know how much more money you have to spend. You have to spend it. So what's going to happen when you do that? You're going to notice that you start making $150,000. You're going to start noticing you start making $200,000, $250,000. And that marketing budget just keeps growing. Eventually, guys, if you do this formula of 15%, what you're going to notice is you have to make hard decisions on, do I want to get more trucks? Do I want to be that guy? Do I want to deal with that? Which is fine. Scaling is fine. But some guys want to stay lean and mean. Then what you do, if you want to stay lean and mean, like a Ben Wilson, like myself, like some of these other guys out there who love, Joe Deary's a lean and mean guy, one truck kind of guy. You're able to raise your tickets, right? You're able to decide who you work for. For me, that's where freedom really opened up, is the ability to decide who I work for. Ben Wilson, Chris, Ben will make $4,000 for noon. Okay. Like I've seen him do it I've seen him do it on 2 or 3 hands. Okay. That many times. Like Ben really knows how to sell and knows and understands that lean and mean game. And when you're running your Google ads, you tie this mentality, and you're able to just decide. And that's the point. That's why I think we got started in this business, guys. And I'll let you go with this. You got started in this business for freedom. Time freedom. Maybe you're working offshore. Maybe you were a nurse. Maybe you were tied to someone else's schedule, right? Somebody was breathing down your neck, dictating your life with a check and time away from your family, right? That's not uncommon. That's probably the most common thing. You got started here so you can open up some of those freedom channels where you could show up to work at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. hell if you wanted to, right? You could do that customer's job if you wanted to. That's the point of listening to any of my videos on my channel, is that we charge high ticket. We're on the upper echelon of what the market will bear. We do excellent service. We invest in our marketing. Eventually, guys, this becomes autopilot and you start being able to free yourself up completely. And you're not even worried about the Google ads budget. You're making so much money that you're having to kind of shoo customers away. You're like having to give leads away to other guys or sell the lead or whatever you want to do. That's the quintessential spot, because if you get to that point, you're able to decide, do I want to scale my business? Do I want to do that? You have the option of doing it comfortably because you have the cash flow and the lead flow. You have a book of leads who you've called year after year, right? You can just email them one email and get a bunch of stuff on the schedule. They like you. You've done a great job. You got a ton of Google reviews. You see, we're creating the perfect storm here for freedom. Chris, any last words?
I don't think I could top that. That was amazing. Loved it.
Thanks again, dude. Appreciate you coming on. Guys, enjoy your week. Go out there and crush it. We'll see you in the next video.